Hello everyone. So today's topic is chronic suppurative otitis media, that is a chronic infection of middle ear. And this chronic infection of middle ear, the first thing and the most important thing and the thing we have to remember for always, and if the only one thing we have to remember, that is this, that in chronic suppurative otitis media we have a permanent perforation. Okay, so this is a condition where tympanic membrane is permanently perforated, means it's not going to heal by itself. Now let's understand why is this so consider this a tympanic membrane, and this is the perforation, and this is what I have drawn the tympanic membrane coronal section. Okay, so as you can see, this side will be our external auditory canal. Here is the tympanic membrane, and this side is the middle ear. And this tympanic membrane, this is the part which is perforated. Now tympanic membrane has three layer: the outer epithelial layer containing with the external auditory canal, the fibrous layer in between, and the endothelial layer lining the inside of the middle ear. Okay, so what happens is that whenever tympanic membrane heals by itself, it heals within 3 months, and whenever it heals by two layer. Means if this is the epithelial layer, the epithelial layer heals, and if this is the endothelial layer, this also heals. But in the case of chronic suppurative otitis media, the membrane, the epithelial layer and endothelial cell do not meet on the opposite side. On contrary, this epithelial layer grows over the margin, and along with the endothelial layer meets over the margin. Means margin are undergoing epithelialization from both the sides. Means this will never be epithelialized. Means there will be a perforation for always due to epithelialization of the margins of perforation. So this is the cause. So due to this, there is a permanent opening between our external auditory canal and the middle ear. So what happens is that due to this, there will be a continuous communication between middle ear and external ear. So this perforation has took 3 months. So whenever patient will present, he will have a history of discharge from the ear for more than 3 months. Now let's come into its types. There can be a safe CSM, also known as tubotympanic, which we are going to discuss in this video, and another one is unsafe aticoantral CSM, which will be discussed in next video. Now let's go into details of tubotympanic CSM. Okay, so in tubotympanic CSM, as we all know, CSM there will be a permanent perforation, but in tubotympanic CSM, consider this tympanic membrane. This is the handle of malleus, the lateral process of malleus. In the case of tubotympanic type of CSM, there will be a perforation. Okay, but this perforation will never reach the margin. This is the difference between tubotympanic and our unsafe CSM. So this you need to remember. The next thing is that due to CSM, there will be a continuous communication between external layer and middle layer. So from external layer, there can occur recurrent infections in the middle layer. Okay, this is one of the cause of discharge. Now another cause of discharge is that middle ear is connected to our nasopharynx through eustachian tube. So forceful blowing during an infection of nasopharynx or oropharynx, or a simple infection of nasopharynx or oropharynx, can ascend up to middle ear and cause an infection in middle ear, leading to discharge from there. Okay, so these are two causes. Now as you may see here, there is involvement of eustachian tube and middle ear. So this condition is also known as tubotympanic CSOM. So another thing you need to remember is that this tubotympanic CSOM can have an active state. There is a discharge from the air continuous, or there can be an inactive state where there is no discharge. Okay, so these are two types within the tubotympanic CSM. The clinical feature which patient will present is that there will be no pain, but there will be a mucopurulent discharge. Okay, in the this is the feature that it will be sticky mucopurulent discharge, and there will be a conductive hearing loss ranging from 10 to 40 decibel. Now this depends where the perforation is in the tympanic membrane and what is the size of perforation. A small perforation will cause less conductive hearing loss, and perforation over the malleus or somewhere over the pars flaccida will cause different type of conductive hearing loss. So the main feature are a mucopurulent discharge with a conductive hearing loss. So when now we move on to the treatment, so we all know that the treatment is surgical, but the main thing we need to know that the we cannot move on to surgery directly until our air is dry. Means first we will go for medical management to dry the air. Now what we do is that we do air toileting, we give antibiotics which may be systemic or topical until the air is dry for at least 6 weeks. Okay, so until the air is dry for 6 weeks, we cannot go for surgical management. And now, when the air is dry for 6 weeks, we move for surgery. Now, what is the surgery? It is myringoplasty. Myringo means the tympanic membrane, and plasty means its replacement or surgery. So, myringoplasty involves tympanic membrane. Now, this is of two type: underlay and overlay. Means we are applying a graft over the perforated part of tympanic membrane. This graft is generally a temporalis fascia autograft. Okay, or this can be a tracheal or conchal cartilage, but most common is temporalis fascia. Now, as you may see in diagram, it will be clear what is underlay and overlay method. In underlay method, what we are doing is that we are lifting up the margins of our annulus as well, and we are placing the our graft behind this annulus, okay, medial to annulus, and plus the malleus is placed lateral to this graft always. Okay, in both the cases. In overlay technique, we do not lift the annulus, means the graft is placed lateral to the annulus. This is clear by the graft, clear by the diagram, sorry. Okay, the next method, ossiculoplasty. Okay, when there is recurrent infection going on in middle ear, what can occur is that the ossicles can undergo necrosis, and the first one to undergo necrosis is our incus, and this is the lenticular process of incus that is going to undergo necrosis first. This is because of precarious arterial supply of this incus. So in cases where ossicular necrosis is occurred, we have to replace ossicles also. So how do we do that is that consider a situation, as you may see in the diagram, these are two types. Okay, TORP means total ossicular replacement prosthesis, or a partial ossicular replacement prosthesis. So as you have seen in diagram, this is TORP. What we do is, in cases where incus and stapes both are missing, you are seeing in the diagram that we have placed a prosthesis which is directly connecting malleus to our the footplate of stapes or the oval window. The other one is partial ossicular replacement prosthesis, PORP, as you are seeing in diagram. In cases where only incus is missing, we connect malleus to stapes with the help of this partial PORP. Okay, so this is the method. Another thing we need to know is Austin's classification. Now, what is Austin's classification? It is really very easy, and it is not of that much significance, but you need to remember that in the cases of ossicular necrosis, we know that incus is necrosed first. So in all these cases, incus will be necrosed. Okay, now based on malleus and stapes necrosis, we choose the prosthesis. Means if malleus is present, stapes is present, we are going to go for PORP. As you can see in diagram, in cases where malleus is present and the stapes and incus are not present, TORP. And similarly in these cases. Okay, if you understand TORP and PORP, these understanding will be easier. Now the last and the most important thing we are going to remember is Wolstein classification for tympanoplasty. Means in cases we are going for myringoplasty, where there is perforation in tympanic membrane, and ossiculoplasty where there is ossicular necrosis. Now consider a situation if patient is having ossicular necrosis and without going for ossiculoplasty, we go for myringoplasty. Now what will happen is that the hearing disability will increase, means conductive hearing loss will increase, because we have closed the tympanic membrane and the ossicles are not present. In this case, the phase difference between oval and round window will be lost and the hearing loss will increase. So, in the cases with ossicle necrosis as well as tympanic membrane perforation, we go for tympanoplasty. Okay, combination of myringo and ossiculoplasty. So, Wolstein introduced the stages or the classification how we have to go for tympanoplasty. Okay, So there are five stages. The first one we have already studied. In the case where everything is normal, there is just perforation of tympanic membrane, we go for myringoplasty. In the cases where our malleus is also missing, we'll place the tympanic membrane over the incus, okay, as you are seeing in the diagram. In the third case, where there, which is the most common case, because in this case incus is missing, and incus is the first one to get necrosed, so this will be the most common case. And here we place the tympanic membrane over the foot plate of stapes, or the stapes itself. So this condition is also known as myringostapediopexy, okay. And another name is columella tympanoplasty. Now this name is derived because birds in air, they have only one ossicle, and considering this situation where only one ossicle stapes is left, we term it columella tympanoplasty. You may again see it in diagram. The fourth one is oval window is covered, means in the fourth stage what we do is that the all the ossicles are necrosed. What we do is to maintain our phase difference, we just cover the oval window, and
Sorry,
the round window
actually,
is
oval
open.
window
So
is
by doing this,
kept open and
though
round
the
window
middle
is
layer
covered.
cavity
This
is very
maintains the phase
narrow,
difference.
which is known as K1 minor, but still this maintains the phase difference between oval and round window. So this is why it is important. And the fifth case is that of where all the ossicles are necrosed, but when footplate of stapes is completely fixed, in this case we cannot do anything to the oval window. So what we do is we create a opening in the lateral semicircular canal, that is known as fenestration operation. Now this surgery is no more done, because in this case we'll end up into a positive fistula test, which is iatrogenic, means patient will have vestibular dysfunction, dizziness and all that, because of an iatrogenic region, and this is why we don't do it. So this is about the aticoantral type of CSOM. Hope you find it helpful. Thanks for watching.